Hi, Jeremy here, and today we're going to be talking about how to get power and finesse from your iron shot. So if you lack compression, you keep hitting flats and thins, you keep missing greens, then this is the video for you. I'm going to be using my pupil Joe as an illustration. He came to me, couldn't flight the ball down, he's a good player, he was missing greens with wedges, hitting flats, hitting thins, he'd lost his accuracy, and he was making one huge error. I'm going to talk about what it is and how it fixed 3 different shots on the golfing curriculum. I'm going to talk you through what they are and at the end give you a really simplified idea of how to make a perfect backswing and where the club should be at every single point in it. There's a free ebook at the end as well. Plenty to talk about. Let's get into it. So what was Joe doing that was so destructive? Well, he was in effect falling at the first hurdle. You can see from the stills that his backswing line was miles behind him. At 9 o'clock, as I call it, we want the club parallel at this point here, and his was about 1.5 feet behind him. Now when you do this, top of your backswing looks a bit cramped, which he did as well, and you will come back on that same line. So if the club approaches from this angle here, the follow through will be out there. We call that in to out. I'm standing inside the yellow line, this is outside the yellow line, and a swing that is in to out will hit the ball to the right. It also might hook it, but the most destructive thing is that it brings the low point back, and you can see from the stills when Joe came back, he wasn't on the 9 o'clock slot. This is perfect for delivery to the ball, where you hit the ball first and the ground second. We call that compression. That's all it is. We'll talk more about that later. But once you're on this line and the club is low, the ground is simply going to arrive too early. So you get fat shots, very destructive for iron play, but also if you miss the ground, the club is rising as it strikes the ball. So you can get thins as well. So this is a very common thing. It's hugely common. It is actually good for one shot on the golf curriculum, and that is the driver, but I'll explain more about that later when we talk about how to get the right positions throughout the swing. So with iron shots, if you take the club inside, you hit pushes, you might hit hooks as well, but you'll definitely get miss hits, and that was where Joe was. Now, changing a backswing from a position where the club is so far out of position to the correct 9 o'clock spot is a huge ask, and it changes every other position as well. So what we decided to do was start short and build up. You can learn a lot about the long game from the short game. So we decided to have a look at Joe's short pitching from 9 o'clock and then build up to other shots. And what we found was it changed his pitching, it changed his mid-swing, and it changed his full swing, all for the better. So I asked Joe, how is your pitching? And he said, actually, it's not very good. I'm frightened that I might fat the ball. I don't have the feeling that I can simply drop the club on the ball, which was brilliant feedback. So what we did was made him hit a few 9 o'clock shots. And what I was looking for was this horizontal and parallel slot. And he was in here. And no wonder he was having trouble getting the ball first and the ground second as we'd like to, because the club was coming in too shallow. It wasn't on this steep 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock path. Can you see how the club is a mirror image at this point? And Joe, again, even on his pitching, was in here. And he actually did quite a good job to rescue it and was pitching as well as you could possibly expect, but he didn't trust the strike. Now, once we got him on the 9 o'clock spot, that of course changed the follow through, and he was able to feel that the club and the hands disappeared around him, around to the left. So I call this being on the clock. 9 o'clock here, horizontal and parallel, back to square and through to 3 o'clock here. So can you see my hands and arms and the club have all disappeared? If I do that back towards the camera, you'll be able to see it very clearly. This is a great concept for the swing. What you do on one side, you also do on the other. So this would be my left-handed backswing if I was going to play the other way around. Now, once Joe fixed this bit, he had to feel like he was coming back inside again, which he did, and the shot started to have more crispness, higher flight, better contact, and he completely trusted that. Within 15 minutes, it was quite a change. He did brilliantly well, but what he had to feel was that the club was almost out here and the follow through was much more around him instead of this really destructive in to out path where you build in an upswing. Really bad, that. So shot number 2 in our backswing building exercise was from 9 o'clock. Joe had to have the feeling that the club was going up much more than it used to. You can see that his hands would travel quite a long way around him. This is a really bad match because he made almost a full turn, but it only got the hands to about 2/3 of a turn. So he really had nowhere to go. But with this new takeaway, he was able to get the club up. So this is a 3/4 or a 2/3 of a shot. And you can see the difference between where I am now, where my hands are opposite the middle of my chest, to this, and the right arm position completely different as well. So the lovely thing about this backswing is that wherever I stop my backswing, I should be able to come back and hit a shot. This is what we're looking for. Then your shot making capabilities, your finesse, go through the roof, because you're good from 20 yards, you're good from 50 yards, and as we'll see in a minute, you can play a punch shot as well. But this is the path we want the backswing to be on. And from 3/4, you can see I've got room to swing my arms up, and I can complete the turn because I haven't completed it already. My hands are much, much higher than Joe's was, so that's better for power. It's also better for accuracy, because when I come back, I can be on the 9 o'clock slot, because that's where I came up. Joe was in here, and his return swing, his downswing, came through this path. Again, too low here. Too many shots where you hit the ground first, thin shots as well, and no compression. Now, what does that mean? Well, compression is simply that your hands lead the club at impact. Now, if there's a little bit of steepness in the swing, that can happen. It's good for power because you get a great connection, but you also deal off the club face ever so slightly, and that makes the ball go further. Better connection, slightly stronger loft, and the ball will go further. Buzzword is compression. All it means is your hands can lead. Now, with this downswing being a little bit steeper, you can get the divot in the right place, you can get the hands in the right place as well, assuming a good grip, but that's the subject of another video. Make sure you don't get that wrong. There's a massive power leak as well. So Joe was then in position, but the second shot was this 3/4 shot. So with this 3/4, 2/3 shot, Joe was able suddenly to hit a 50-yard pitching wedge. Brilliant. Hadn't been really struggling with that shot for ages, and suddenly he wasn't frightened that this 3/4 shot was going to go out of control. And he did a beautiful job, and it was a great way for him to feel, once he'd got to 9 o'clock, where the club needed to go. It felt much more upright, and indeed it was. You can see now how flat and around me that is. But his feeling was, yeah, go to 9 o'clock, even that the club was a little bit outside him there, and then go up to this point here. Stay forwards, narrow stance, all the same things that you do for a short pitch as well. And then he started to hit the ground at the right point and get some belief that he could hit an iron shot. So if you stand in the same way as for a longish pitch, so narrow stance, ball by the right heel, 4 inches inside the left heel as normal, and just change the club to an 8 iron or a 7 iron, I've got a 6 here, and make this 3/4 L shot, then you will get a low punch shot, because your head, your center of your circle, the center of the swing is ahead of the ball, and that will help you de-loft the club at impact. Can you see I've got a little bit of extra shaft lean? So if you go 3/4 back, hit and stop through with a nice wide 3 o'clock follow through, you'll get a lovely low punch shot without having to drive the handle of the club forwards too much. All you've got to do is make sure you've got a good grip, of course. And this is the subject of another video, and this is a really useful shot. And as soon as Joe found the 9 o'clock spot here and the L swing spot here, where his hands again were opposite the middle of his chest, then he was able to feel like he could drop the club on the ball and flight one down in a way that he simply couldn't do when the club was coming from two inside the line. If it comes from two inside the line, you'll see it very clearly here. It's low. So that means it's going up, so there's no compression. Shaft is too vertical. Weight might be too much on the front foot as well. And you certainly can't get an impact position like this, where your divot will be deeper. It will also be beyond the ball, but also the shaft will be leaning towards the target. So suddenly, with just a simple takeaway change and doing it slowly with pitching shots, Joe was able to find the correct line of swing for his irons. I call it being on the clock. And suddenly he could hit a short pitch, he could hit a long pitch, and he could hit a punch shot, all of which he couldn't do before. And in fact, a week later, he's a good player, and he texted me to say, Jeremy, I've had the best round I've had in years. I can't believe the difference that this made, and hats off to him because he worked really hard. Now, I did mention earlier, this swing is good for one club, and that was the one club that Joe was hitting well, and that is the driver. Now, as soon as you swing it in here with the driver and the low point's back here, that is great because with the driver, we want to hit the ball on the upswing. Unfortunately, that is only one shot out of the 20 on the golfing curriculum, and we have to be able to play them all. Otherwise, our scores will suffer. You can imagine Joe's frustration. Brilliant drive, missed the green with a wedge, didn't get the chip very well either, and suddenly he walked off with a 5 or even a 6 if he duffed the chip really badly when he'd had a great drive. It's a terrible way to play, and a simple correction that didn't hurt his driving either. So I promised you a simplified idea of the line of the swing, and here it is. There's a rule of parallels. Every time the club shaft reaches parallel, it should be also parallel to the target line, which is that yellow line, and the club is beautifully parallel in both senses. It's parallel to the ground and it's also parallel to the target line, and it will repeat that in the follow through. So parallel here and parallel here, parallel on the way back down again, parallel on the way through again, and also parallel up here. If I swing again towards you, I did this a little earlier, you can see 9 o'clock here, 3 o'clock there. This is my right-handed follow through, but what it also is, if I swap the hands over, it's also my left-handed backswing. Can you see the club is parallel again, and if I came down, it would be parallel here and parallel through, and also parallel up here. So the rule of parallels, really simple idea, but this is what we're trying to get. Parallel here, parallel here, parallel here, parallel here. It's a really simple idea, and then the club will move as we want it to, from inside the line back to square, that yellow line on the line. It'll stay square for a little bit, and then it'll come back inside again, in to square to in. Great John Jacobs always used to say that, great English coach of the 60s and 70s, and it's true then and it's true today. So well done to Joe, fantastic change in only a week, and remember how we did it. We used the short game to learn about the long game. You can't do it the other way around. Hats off to him. If you'd like to hit more fairways, there's a free ebook. The link is in the description. I hope you find that useful. In any case, thanks for watching, and see you next time for another shot of the golfing curriculum.